Have you ever been frustrated because you think that your competition is making way more money than you and you just don't understand what they're doing that you're not? And why are they making more money than you? Well, today we're going to go over not only 5 things that they're probably doing to make more money than you, but I'm also going to try to help clear up some misunderstanding that I think might be out there. And with that, let's go ahead and dive on in. Hey, badass business owners, my name is Tammy, and I'm here to help you grow your business, but not just your sales. I want you to grow your profits because I believe every small business owner deserves to make that 6-figure income. Now, let's talk about competition, shall we? We all have it. We all spend a lot of time wondering about our competition. What are they doing that we're not? Why are they getting so many people and we're not? And there's a healthy way to think about your competition and what it is, because I think you need to have a little bit of that competition so that way you don't take it for granted. But at the same time I think that there's some misunderstandings that are out there, but I also think that sometimes they're doing something that you're not that's definitely causing them to be more profitable than you. But before we dive into what those 5 things are, let's talk about some misunderstandings. A lot of times we assume that because our competitors are busy and they always seem to be doing a lot of sales, well, they must be making more money than us. That is not true. A lot of times you will find somebody that's out there, another business maybe, or even one of your competitors, and they just seem to be taking up all the market shares. They're getting tons of sales, and you think, God, they must be making money hand over fist. But the reality is, remember, it's not about the sales that come in, it's about how much you keep. And there are businesses that are out there that, yes, they might be doing $500,000 in sales or even $1 million in sales, but after all of their costs, all of their expenses, their payroll, and everything else, the reality is they're not making as much money as you think. I have seen businesses that have done that $500,000, but after they pay everything, they are basically taking a small wage for themselves of maybe $30,000, $40,000, and they don't have any profit in the business. So they're not making as much money as they want. So one of the things I need you to do is to not always look at the fact that they're doing so many sales, because that doesn't necessarily mean that's how much profit they're making. Same thing, they might be very much in debt. There are some businesses that in order for them to grow their business, they took on a lot of debt. They have a lot of vehicles, a lot of debt. So a lot of times we think, oh, well, their bottom line looks like they're making a lot of money. Their bottom line might be making a lot of money, but then they turn around and pay for all of this debt. So the reality is the owner is not taking any of that money because the creditors are taking all the money. So if you looked at their balance sheet, the debt way offset the assets that they have. So once again, just because somebody has a lot of trucks or a lot of people or any of that, just keep in mind that a lot of people means a heavy payroll, which takes away a lot of profit, and so does a lot of vehicles, not only for the vehicles, but for the repairs, the maintenance, and everything else. So once again, don't confuse sales with profits. Now, another concept that I want you to keep in mind is there's profit dollars and there's profit percent. So for example, if somebody does that $500,000, you might say, well, they're making a heavy percent. They made $100,000. Well, if they made $100,000 by the time it was all said and done, that's a 20%, because 100 divided by the 500 is 20%. So they have a 20% profit. The reality is a lot of those people aren't doing that. When you look at their $500,000 business, they might be making $50,000, and $50,000 is a 10% margin. And the number's not as great as where you might be running your business at $200,000, $250,000, but your percentage is 25%. And the reality is you're making more money, if not the same amount of money. So if they're making a 10% bottom line, getting $50,000, you're doing half the sales and you now have a 20% margin. Believe it or not, you and that big dog are making the same amount of money when it's all said and done, because your expenses are lower. Your costs are much lower than theirs. And by the way, if you're at 25%, at your $500,000 or your $250,000 compared to their $500,000, you're actually making more money than they are. You're making a couple $1,000s more. So once again, understand that sometimes the dollar amount and the percentage are 2 different numbers. And what you're looking for is how can you maximize your percentage and then start focusing on how do you increase those dollars. Because a lot of times, in order for you to grow those dollars, you end up taking a lower percentage because you're having to spend more money out there to be able to get those sales, whether it's through advertising, hiring people, getting those trucks. doing something else. So a lot of times, if you're not doing the math and really looking behind the scenes, you'll assume that the competitor is making a lot more money than you. And the reality is you guys are probably making about the same amount of money. You're just doing it differently because your costs are much lower than what their costs are. Now, another thing that you want to keep in mind is where you are in your journey compared to where they are in their journey. A lot of times I have seen small business owners who have been in business for maybe 3, 4, and even 5 years, where they're really focused on a competitor who's been in business for 20 plus years. You have to remember that competitor started out where you are. They weren't always making the type of money that they're making, but they've learned how to turn around and make more money by focusing on the 5 things we're about to go over. So it's important that as you're looking through growing your business and growing your profits, that you're focused on the right things and knowing that you're a baby in your journey. They might be further along. And if they're further along, they've just learned how to tweak and how to use the different things in order to create more profit than you. So what are those 5 things? I'm glad you asked. The very first thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that you are priced correctly. So many small businesses, when they start off, aren't priced correctly because what they're doing is they're chasing sales. They're not chasing profitable sales. And it's really important that you understand what comes out of every dollar that you sell so you can understand where that profit is. This is where you heard me talk about before that you need to understand the difference between paying yourself as that employee who's doing the work in your business, and then the owner gets paid out of the profits of the business. And it all starts with having the right pricing. A lot of times what happens is because I told you you're so caught up on your competitors, you think it's a game of who can be priced the cheapest. And as you go and chase the cheapest price, what ends up happening is you're giving up all of that profitability that you could have had because you're chasing the sale and the lowest sales price, and that's not helping you out. Trust me, you're much better off having fewer sales that make money versus having a lot of sales that don't make any money. Would you rather do 10 jobs making the same amount of money as 5 jobs at a higher price? Trust me, you're going to want to do the fewer jobs. The key is you have to be priced correctly. And we're going to tell you how to be priced correctly here in just a few minutes. But another thing, the second thing that they do is they really have figured out over time who their ideal customer is. Not only who their ideal customer is, but what pain point are they solving? They've learned how to talk to that ideal customer. We all would love it if everybody and their mother would use our product or service. But the reality is that's not how it works. There's very few products that actually do that. Usually there's an ideal person who wants to pay for our product and our service. Your goal, your mission is who is that person? Yes, it might be everybody else, but like a bullseye, you want to aim for that center. Who is that perfect ideal person? Maybe it's a retired person with some extra income. So you're going to target the 55 plus communities that are out there. And maybe it's young folks that need help in getting a leg up. So you're going to target those people. Whoever it is, that person who has that specific pain point, they want to look and they don't have the time. That's another good one. They don't have the time to be able to get things done. So they hire you to be able to do it. It's the difference between someone who's a DIYer and somebody who will pay a professional to do it is because they just don't have the time and maybe they don't have the skills. Find your ideal customer, because if you really look at your competitors, more than likely that competitor has figured out who will pay for their services. They figured out what message are they delivering. Look at their advertising. Look at their marketing. Are they very specific? Do you find that do they blast it out to everyone? Or do they target certain markets? And usually, by the way, if you see a business that targets, like they get into those flyers and mailers and they just go out to everybody under the sun, they're doing what we call pay and spray. They're putting out there for everybody under the sun, hoping that people will call a small percentage, like 2-3%. And really, if you look at their marketing, a lot of you have a very low marketing number, right? You're sitting at a percentage of maybe 1-2%. Dollar-wise, it may feel like a lot, but it's a couple $1,000s that you're spending, where those companies are spending thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, if not 50,000 plus. And then the big companies, their big competitors, they're spending over $100,000 just to do that type of marketing. And that's not feasible for you to do. So they can afford to spray to everybody under the sun, where you, in order for you to be more profitable, you need to take your energy, your resources, and put it into someone specific who's that ideal customer, because you're talking their language, you're solving their problem. And you're solving it because you're priced correctly, like we had in the first one. So now that we've got you chasing the right sales and the right people, the next thing you have to do is you have to constantly be working on improving those processes and systems. And the reason that you want to constantly improve them is because it's going to make you faster, right? Time is money. It's also going to help with the waste and the money that you're throwing away. Remember, it's a profit game, right? So what you're trying to do and what your competitors have figured out is they have to run a better mousetrap. So your goal is, how do you also create a better mousetrap? And you do that by improving your processes and fixing your systems. Anything that's broken, anything that you can do faster, anything that you can do better. For example, if you are a business that goes all over town and one minute you're way over here and then the next minute later in the afternoon you're way over here and then you come back over here by the end of the night, that's a broken process. What your competitors who are profitable have figured out is, I'm going to focus on this area today and I'm going to go focus on this area tomorrow. They figured out how to make it faster. If they're spending a lot of time on the phone and wasted time, they're going to figure out, how do I get my people, my customers, to get the information they need quicker, faster. Maybe there's some questions I can answer on the internet or on the Google page or whatever to help speed that up with the process. Whatever it is, there's a process out there. It could be your employees. Your employees might be taking 3 hours to get something done that probably could get done in 2 hours. How do you improve the process? Great way to look at this is if you can get it done faster and there's a big gap between you and them, how do you get them somewhere in the middle? It's usually coming down to a process. So another thing, for example, that your competitors are doing is they are working on those systems and processes and constantly improving them because they know that the profit comes from getting those things dialed. Which leads us to the fourth thing that your competitors probably do better than you, and that is they understand and know their business numbers. You didn't think you were going to get through a video or an audio without me talking about your business numbers, right? You have to understand your business numbers, whether it's your P&L, whether it's understanding that balance sheet that I mentioned earlier, because you remember I talked about the balance sheet because that's where you're going to see where somebody's debt is in relation to their assets and to the things that they have. By understanding your business numbers, you're able to take the information and use it to your advantage to be able to create more sales, chase the right sales, right? To know where your money's going and everything else. Your business numbers hold the key to so much, not just how to get more profit, but who to target, who to go after, which leads me to the fifth thing that your competition probably does better than you if they make more money than you, is taking those business numbers, but specifically focusing on the profit and loss statement. Your P&L is so important. It is telling you the story of your business. Yes, it's the report card of your business, but it's telling you a story. And I'm going to come out with a video next week that you're going to want to make sure you subscribe because you're not going to want to miss it. And I'm going to show you how to take that year-end profit and loss statement and look for so many golden opportunities to drive sales, to drive profit. And that's exactly what your competitors are doing, is they've learned how important that profit and loss statement is, and they've learned how to read it, and they've learned how to interpret it, and they've learned how to listen to what the story they're telling you. Your profit and loss and your business numbers aren't about the math. It is about the story that the numbers are telling you. And when your competition is making more money than you, they have figured out this core piece of your business numbers and the profit and loss statement and how it helps you become better at your business, which is why you want to look at a lot of the videos on here, because we're always talking about those business numbers and how to get better at them. As a matter of fact, I'll have a video at the end for you on their P&L if you've never looked at yours or you don't even understand it. Plus, there's a link in the show notes below to a course that I have for knowing your business numbers. But my whole goal is for you to understand those business numbers. You can get everything for free here on YouTube. You need to understand those business numbers because that's one of the things that your competitors have really figured it out. So once again, we want to make sure that you are looking at, are you serving the right people? Are you priced correctly? Are you chasing the right sales? Are you looking at those business numbers? Are you improving your processes and your systems? Because if you're going to compare yourself to your competition, it's important that you're looking at the entire picture. Don't get lost on the fact that they do more sales than you, because like we talked about at the beginning of this, they may not be making as much profit as you. Your goal is, how do you become as profitable as you can at your current level? So this way, when you scale and you grow, you take that profit with you. So this way, when you are doing the same amount of money they are, you are actually making more money than them because you have been working on it now as the little guy or gal trying to become bigger and better. So please focus on your competition, but think about it in the right way. Put it all in perspective. Don't get hung up on the fact that you think your competition is winning over all these different things and they're making tons more money than you are. They may or may not be. And if they're not, what are they doing wrong? What could you do better than them so that you can make more money? Sales does not dictate if it's a profitable company or not. There's a lot of businesses that have gone out of business because they did billions of dollars in sales, but they made no profit. And without profit, you cannot survive as a business. So please make sure if you're going to focus on your competition, focus on what they're doing right, but also focus on what they're doing wrong, because it's going to give you a lot of ideas on how you can not only do more sales, but you can make more profit. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. Don't forget to check out one of these videos where I talk about the P&L and some of the other things that you need to be able to run a profitable business. Hit that like, subscribe button, and I will see you next week where we're going to go over the P&L. So make sure you don't miss that one. I think you're going to find it really helpful to look at a year-end P&L and some of the things that you could be looking at. With that, I'm out of here. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.